Hello and good morning, my beauties and bees. I hope everybody is doing well. Why does my camera seem like it's so much higher? I haven't messed with it. That's weird. Okay. Is that better? Can you see me better now? I'm gonna get some posters to hang on this ugly closet over here. I mean, it's not ugly, it's just wood, but kind of the brown, or a big old clump of brown there, right to my, it flip-flops my direction, but anyways, yeah. Anyway, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Hive, my beauties and bees. Happy Saturday. It is 9:40 now, because I do have intro stuff that I do now for some ads. I hope you enjoyed Math Pig's little ad there. Is it lagging? I hope it's not lagging, and I hope my audio is good. Let me know if I have any other tech stuff. I did have tech on my first intro vid, but that's par for course here anymore. I'm still perfecting my OBS skills and trying to see what the system can offer me as far as creating content and building my network. Because I mean, that's what I'm working towards right now, is just having a production network to take pride in and do as my passion project. Good morning, everybody. Let me say hi to everybody I see in the side chat today, because I have a bunch of familiar faces and some awesome people popping in that I haven't seen for a minute. So I'm gonna say hi to Sandy and Ring and Greg and Harmonica Man. Good to see you, Randy. Purple's here, alias fake name. Yeah, we got Lori Hayes, Robert X, of course the enigmatic Bugbot. I say Ian Davenport because Ian Davenport is here. Look at the trees. Good to see everybody. Thank you so much for popping in, and of course Natasha, my lovely Doom Bunny. It's so good to see you this morning. I hadn't seen you in a side chat for a while, so. That's my shoulder to lean on. Well, my head doesn't quite reach your shoulder. That's my hip to lean my head on, I guess. But yes, beautiful person. And good morning. Good morning. Was it audio lagging with the video? That's peculiar. Anyhow, I just made you listen to me drink again. I need to get in my head to start muting myself when I take a drink. It doesn't bother some people. Some people like it, even. It's like ASMRs for people drinking drinks and stuff, but it doesn't do it for Bree, and I don't like listening to me do it or anybody else do it. More so me do it, or me chew, or even me breathe. But that's probably because I edit my own videos, so I have to clip out my breathing and my drinking and my my coughing, sneezing, yeah, all that good stuff. So I don't know if you heard, but I did get a second chair director recognition on McKinnon Mitchell's latest project. It does release on the the 26th, so 1 week from Monday. We are doing a live screening on his channel. I'll be running the production side on the background for the Q&A afterwards. It's gonna be fun. This is a different topic than what he's covered before with the Kent Hovind stuff, of course. But that is how I got involved with him. But regardless, this topic that he's covering is pretty heavy, and it deals with mental illness, and yeah, and I think it's important. So check it out. Yeah, a link. I don't have a link to. I just have a link to McKinnon's channel right now, because there's no release set yet. He's not even finished. He's doing the final. You have to do the subtitles when you do a documentary. You have to put in your own subtitles. He's doing that right now. So, I will have links for that. But definitely, if one of my mods wants to give a link to McKinnon's channel, it's just McKinnon Mitchell. JL Warren is also second chair director on that, so me and JL got second chair credits on it. We did do a screening of it last night. It looks great. I'm so excited to have been part of it. So it is more of a true crime sort of situation too, even though there's no ambiguity about the crime at all. But so if you're into that sort of thing, then please check it out. Anyhow, that's really all the house cleaning I have today. That's what I was doing last night. Yeah, I'm super stoked. I'm probably going to put off ordering mantises until the spring, if that's okay with everybody. I know it's weird not having a mic mantis here, but I just think it would be in my best interest to hold off until the spring when it's warmer and I don't have to worry about the extra shipping cost and worry about them getting left outside and things like that by the delivery company. So we're gonna wait till it's warmer. But I will keep you all in the loop. We may get some. Maybe we may see what the local pet shop has as far as creepy crawlies to keep us entertained until then, though. So we will have more more bugs, of course. I need to get my crabby friend here some compadres. He's lonely. I think that he could benefit from some friends. Those are fiddler crabs. They're fairly affordable at the local pet shop, a couple of bucks a piece. So we might get some more of them to watch, and if I do, watch for clips of their interactions with each other, because I like recording that stuff. Nobody else has got a wrench but Sandy? What am I doing here? What kind of operation am I running? I think Godseed deserves a wrench. Yeah, we're gonna mod you, and Regios automatically gets a wrench because they're a Patreon, or they're on Patreon. Any other patrons out there not have a wrench? Greg, you have a wrench, right? Ring has a wrench. Greg has a wrench. Sandy. Okay, good. And yeah, there's plenty of you guys that I would be happy to give a wrench to if I need to. There's no reason anybody I see in this chat right now shouldn't have a wrench. The only reason I wouldn't give one is because I don't want to, overload everybody. Just put them in little mantises in coats, native atheist. Are you sure about that? I actually used to have people ask me if I could put hats and stuff on them because they thought it'd be cute. You could probably do it with like eyelash glue or something, or yeah, some kind of spirit gum maybe, and not hurt them. But I don't think I would risk it because I think you could damage the chitin, um, especially on their top of their head because they have insects have ocelli on top of their head. Most of them do anyway. Those are little uh, photoreceptive. Their eyes, basically, all spider eyes are ocelli, and just some of them are really, really advanced. But just a different type of eye that doesn't detect shape real well, but does detect shadow and movement quite well, as good as our eyes do. There's just no color cones and stuff. That's actually why, like the background you see right now, this is a light trap inverted. I just like to invert stuff because I think it looks cool. But behind me, and the reason that all these bugs, they'll sit across from it like that is because of their ocelli absorbing that light. There you go, Regios. You are the bomb.com. All right, so I'm rambling, and we're 5 minutes over on the preamble already. So let's get started. This is actually Cryptic Corner this morning. Hold on. We're going to pop right over. So I will see you guys in Cryptic Corner. Of course I am. Of course I'm muted. Well, hopefully that was only like 20 seconds or so. Anyway, welcome to Cryptic Corner. It is a Friday night, and I am glad I have this lovely live chat here to let me know when I've left myself muted. Thank you, beautiful, beautiful people. Yeah, it was my microphone was muted. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Now, the topic today, yeah, we're being topical on Cryptic Corner tonight. It looks like because this is something that I can't always be topical on this channel just because the way that the cryptic community works, where any kind of weird phenomena and sighting takes a while for things to kind of unravel before you get to the root of what's really happening, before you can really understand why things were reported the way they are. And sometimes if you jump on it too fast, you get... and I'll give you an example. Okay, so not far from here, and I live in rural Illinois, not far from here, yeah, you got a wrenched God seed, of course. I'm all about it. Not far from here, a few years back, this kid who was out hunting reported that he was attacked by a mountain lion. He had freaking scratches all over his hat and all over himself when he came back. And yeah, it turned out that he reported it to the news, and everybody was all up in arms about this mountain lion, including Bree. I posted it on, again, this was the time period when I was moderating animal forums on carnivora forum and animal versus animal in those spaces, and I shared it in those groups. Oh, local here. This is local to me. Mountain lion attacked where there's not even any supposed to be any mountain lions at, and it turned out that the kid was lying because he was out hunting when he was supposed to be at school. So he stayed out too late because the kids here, they'll go hunting in the morning before school. They'll go deer hunting, turkey hunting, whatever it may be, in the morning before school. And he stayed out in the field hunting when he was supposed to have gone back into town and gone to school. And that was his excuse, as he got attacked by a mountain lion. Completely ridiculous escalation of the situation for that kid, but it is what it is. So I like to let things kind of spiral a little bit before I start reporting on them, because people who make these reports, if they redact them or recant them, they will usually do it within the first couple of weeks. So what I'm talking about today in CryptoCorner is sort of topical, and it's kind of animal behavior related. So should be an interesting one to dive into. Let's just get right into it, because there's a lot of coverage and a lot of footage. Usually when it comes to these types of sightings, there's not enough footage, but surprisingly on this case there is actually maybe too much. It starts here. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. It starts here and kind of elevates from there. And the thing about the sheep is bizarre. It is bizarre. So let's talk about it real quick, okay? Hundreds of sheep have been walking in circles continuously for 12 days. A herd of sheep in China has been walking in circles for almost 2 weeks now, and no one seems to really know why. The bizarre behavior was captured on surveillance videos at a sheep farm in northern China, Inner Mongolia region. In a video released on Wednesday by Chinese state-run news outlet People's Daily, dozens of sheep, I think that's supposed to be sheep. We're going to go with sheep on this. This is Oddity Central, so I'm not gonna poke at them too much about spelling stuff, but the things I do for you people, the things I do for my wonderful hive. The bug with the frog in their throat, yeah. Purple, you're so silly. Where was I? Although it has been reported that, no, we weren't there yet, can be seen walking clockwise in a large circle as other animals stare from outside the circle or at times stand motionless in the middle of it. Although it has been reported that sheep appear to be perfectly healthy, it's unclear if the animals ever stop to eat and drink, and if others take their places in the circle when this happens. Here's a picture of it and a video of it. So the sheep are circling, right? Circling for 12 days is what I understand. The owner of the sheep farm, identified as Mr. Meow, I guess that's how I'm gonna say that. I don't know. Meow. Told reporters that the bizarre spectacle began on November 4th with just a handful of sheep. But that is a just want to make it clear that I have my own what age do you become a cougar asking for a friend? Anyway, I have my own opinions on this, and I will get into that, and we will talk about it, so don't worry. We're going to crack this sucker wide open, but right now, we're just going to let them lay out their case for us, okay? So I'm not going to offer much rebuttal during this this portion here. But just because there's a lot to go through, and there's a lot of claims attached to this, so we will see. The owner of the sheep, yeah, there we go, November 4th, with a handful of sheep. Interestingly, although the farm consists of 34 sheep pens, only those in number 13 have been acting strangely. The video of sheep walking in circles went viral in China soon after being shared online by People's Daily, and several theories about the bizarre movement have been thrown around since. The most popular theory is that the sheep have been infected with a bacteria that causes a condition known as, let's say it together, listeriosis or circling disease. And I disagree strongly with this. I'm not going to explain that at the moment, but we're going to watch the video. I don't think we need their music, but the People's Daily, that's the Chinese state news network that released that. And no, I don't think the sheep are crazy. Not at all. I have opinions. We will get to it. Let's see here. According to the Merck manual, initially affected animals are anoretic, depressed, and disoriented. They may propel themselves into corners, lean against stationary objects, or circle towards the affected side. However, the above theory has already been disputed because sheep and goats suffering from listeriosis generally die within 14 to 48 hours after exhibiting the first symptoms. The sheep in the viral video have been at it for 12 days straight, and they seem perfectly healthy. And we got this right here. So let's watch this one too. I'm going to mute it here. So you see some animals circling here. Circling. These are not sheep though, are they? They don't look like sheep. That's something else. Yep, those are completely different animal. Completely different animal is kept in pen. Can anybody tell me what those animals are in this video? Anybody in the audience want to tell me what those animals are? They're not sheep. I'll give you that much of a hint. Yes. I'm going to give you guys just a minute. Actually, maybe I should put a poll up. No, because the poll won't tell me what the animals are. I want people to tell me what those animals are in the side chat. I'm going to mute myself for just a second. Oh my gosh, I got to give a shout out to Purple for that. A sheepnado, like a sharknado. Oh my gosh. I know you didn't say sheepnado, but it's implied in your comment. So they said new theory there, trying to generate a tornado, or they're trying to generate tornadoes. I think it's that. Yeah, sheepnado sounds freaking amazing to me. So we're going with that. Anybody got any theories on what these animals are? Actually, I had to scroll back up because it said on the screen. These animals in this video are reindeer. This is showing us reindeer doing their reindeer dance. And they do this in the wild too. This is natural, normal behavior for reindeer. If you look, hold on. See this black spot off to the side here? This is a gentleman on a horse. A predator to the reindeer's instinct. And their instinct is to put the vulnerable inside and then circle around with the strongest ones on the outside, continuing moving what they call a reindeer cyclone. So reindeer behavior, natural behavior, not unheard of in other ungulates, but I digress. Let's see here. Although this kind of behavior is considered uncommon, it is not unheard of. In fact, back in 2018, we covered a similar story of reindeer on Russia's Kola Peninsula in the Arctic Circle, walking in circular patterns for no apparent reason. They do it as part of a herding characteristic. Reindeer are herd animals. They're actually, we call them caribou in the wild here in North America, and they are one of the animals that travels the most out of any mammal, the furthest distances, and they control when it comes to ecosystems. They are an organism that, sorry, I had a request here, so just had something popping on my phone from work. It's nothing to worry about, but anyway, reindeer. There's this cycle that takes place in the taiga and then the tundra with mosquitoes and reindeer and the predators and the wolves, and it controls everything in this environment and drives this whole ecosystem to propagate in a specific way, right? From the fungus all the way down. It starts with the temperature and the mosquitoes hatching, and the mosquitoes and flies, mostly the mosquitoes, torture these giant, massive herds of caribou. So they form these cyclones first, and then birds will do this too before migration season, where they go up and start circling around before it's time to migrate. So no, we're not watching your ads, buddy. Sorry. Anyway, so that was the original report. This is from the public news from China's state news publication, but the report was initially hundreds of sheep have been walking in circles continuously. But it didn't stop there, because now we've moved on to millions of animals, insects, birds. Animals, insects, and birds. Even though insects and birds are animals, they're put in separate categories. I think that they mean to say maybe mammals, insects, and birds. I don't want to be nitpicky, but this is just scientifically illiterate. Paleologos, good to see you. We're talking about the sheep and stuff walking in circles this morning. Strange new phenomena has taken the internet by storm. Millions of animals, insects, and birds have been filmed walking around in circles for days, sometimes weeks, all around the globe, and nobody knows why. So it's gone from hundreds of sheep to millions of animals. How did that happen? Well, we saw the reindeer, so I guess there's probably thousands of reindeer there, at least combined with the sheep. Perhaps. Well, we saw those 3 pins of reindeer, so there's definitely thousands of reindeer. So now we got thousands of animals doing it, but we know why the reindeer were doing it, right? We figured that out. But do we know why the sheep did it? Not yet, but we're gonna get there. I promise we will have some some different footage. But yeah, where did this come from? So November 25th. So it goes from November 18th, hundreds of sheep. November 25th, millions of animals around the world. That's how fast these things escalate. That's how fast this type of woo-woo prophecy stuff happens. And I'm not kidding when I say woo-woo prophecy stuff, because here, 2 weeks ago, November 30th, so 5 days after this one, we had this video that popped up. Who knows who Nostradamus is? Because apparently he predicted something with these animals walking in circles. This is a short little 8-minute video. We're going to pop this sucker open and just give it a quick watch. I'm actually going to speed it up just a little bit. We're going to put it at... We are going to put it at... Let's do 1.25 first. That should be good. That should carve it down to about 6.5 minutes. So here we go. Really soft, sorry. Nope, I had it at the end. Hold on, I'm going to restart it here.
There are prophecies for a long time have become something mysterious, but that everyone wants to know and understand. There are thousands of prophecies of mysterious and strange characters that maybe you have never heard. But there are other characters that are very famous in that their prophecies were not only fulfilled, but there are experts trying to study how it is possible that these prophecies were real. Among all these characters is Nostradamus, the most famous prophet of all times. Nostradamus is famous because there is evidence that his prophecies have been fulfilled. But how is it possible that a prophecy written more than 500 years ago spoke about what is happening right now with animals? That this prophecy would talk about what we have seen in videos during all these days? Remember that in these days some videos have gone viral where we see hundreds of animals walking in a circle without stopping in many parts of the world.
There's our reindeer. Yeah, and we already know why they do it. It's natural for them. This is like they even did this in the movie in the sequel to Frozen. Like seriously, they showed this in Frozen because it's part of their natural behavior. The Nostradamus, I think this is like voice to yeah, I know I was muted that first time. I'm getting better at this format. Just give me time. Right now I'm being like the raging atheist. He was doing this last night too. Knock was that last night? I don't know. Yeah, rage to reason for sure. But yeah, we know why the reindeer do this though, and the sheep. We haven't discussed it yet, but we'll get there. There's a few things we're going to talk about, though. But we're going to talk about lots of different animals in this video, and another one that I got here as well. So,
places like Russia, Japan, and China reported how these animals were behaving very strangely. What would you say if I told you that what we are living in these last days was already prophesied more than 500 years ago? That what is happening with the animals around the world had already been warned and almost nobody had seen?
The last days. We're always in the last days, guys. Yeah, Nostradamus predicted Frozen. Right. And that's exactly what happened here, because this the reindeer cyclone is like a known thing. It's what, like when the Vikings wrote in their ancient poetry and stuff, they wrote about the reindeer cyclones, and for a while people thought it was like a mythology about them. But it's real. They do it. Caribou do it too. And caribou and reindeer are the same. There's different subspecies or different reindeer domesticated caribou, basically, or semi-domesticated, as the case may be. But yeah, they do. But I think that there's a good explanation for the sheep too. We're going to get into it.
In these last days, strange events are happening in different parts of the planet. Animals with strange and mysterious behaviors for no reason, and natural things that leave many of us wondering or worried.
Oh. Hold on. Wait a second.
For no reason, and
we know this behavior, don't we?
Hive.
Talked about this
for a long time,
3 dozen
times.
How
prophecies of different
this
people
too, I will get into in just a moment.
But one of the people, without a doubt, is the one who has been the most accurate prophecy for more than 100 years, and his name.
We know those behaviors. We know the behaviors of the ants, and I know the behaviors of the fish. And if you watch Blue Planet in any capacity, you know the behavior of the fish that are shown there as well. So keep that in mind.
name is Nostradamus. This coming year 2023.
Nostradamus. Nostradamus. You gotta say it with a nasal, with a kind of a nasal. Nostradamus. Yes, I love that screenshot that Nostradamus predicted Frozen. No, he predicted Frozen too. He was not. Frozen. So let's keep this straight. Frozen is canon by the Council of Nicaea, right? They decided that Frozen was canon, but Frozen 2 is just extra biblical predictions by Nostradamus. That's how we're gonna spin this. Frozen is biblical. Frozen 2 is a prediction by Nostradamus.
3 is not an ordinary year. It is not just another year for the calendar, but it holds different mysteries and prophecies that could be fulfilled.
There was the bait ball again. Fish doing that. That's called a bait ball. It's just basically what it is a school of fish with everybody swarming to try to be in the middle. So you're in the middle, and then the swarm keeps swarming, and they swirl and spin, and it makes it so the predator disorients the predators, but it's just scaredy cat behavior of the fish. They're all just they're all swimming towards the middle of a group and trying to get away from the predator. So it causes this swirling vortex looking thing. It's called a bait ball. When ants do it, it's a death pinwheel because ants travel by pheromones. And if they lose the trail, if you see ants walking in a little circle, they're done. Unless somebody gets bumped out to the edge of the circle and picks up the old trail, they're done. The ants are done. Yeah, so it means that the whatever trail they were following has been lost, and they don't know where they're at, and so they just keep following in circles, following each other. Especially, and you'll see them do it around food too, which is sad because they'll collect all the food and just run around in circles with it. But, yeah.
But a prophecy more than 500 years old warned about the behavior of animals. It warned about a strange behavior that animals could have just before an important event occurred. So it is for this reason that many are concerned and waiting for some answer. What does this prophecy have to do with the recent videos we have seen on social networks where hundreds of animals are seen walking in circles without stopping? What mystery is hidden in these prophecies, and what could the future teach us? That is why I want to talk to you about the prophecy of Nostradamus that talks about animals walking in circles.
Nostradamus.
By the year 1555, Nostradamus wrote more than 6,300 prophecies, the vast majority of which have been fulfilled in their entirety. Prophecies that for some might be insignificant, but for others are of great importance, since they consider Nostradamus to be one of the most respected ancient prophets of all times. That is why many people are dedicated to study the books that this great character wrote. The curious thing is that this character in his time was considered a person with problems, and no one ever believed anything he said. It was not until many years later that the prophecies that this person wrote began to be fulfilled, and thus the fame of Nostradamus began to grow. Today we will show you some prophecies that will leave you astonished and probably you had never heard before, and how these prophecies...
I'm not going to stop and say Nostradamus every time he says Nostradamus. I could, but we would be here forever because it would make the video 3 times as long.
Could be related to the animals that are walking in circles. The first of the prophecies we will show you is this one. She will go away and leave her kingdom so that her son will be the one to reign over the people.
She will go away and leave her kingdom so that her son will be the one to reign over the people. Many will not like it. Even her son will hate it. I wonder why Nostradamus, who was the counselor and physician to Queen Catherine and her 3 royal sons, would make a prophecy like this, right? Mystery.
Many will not like it, and even her son will hate it. This prophecy was written more than 500 years ago, and we have to understand that it was practically impossible that in those times a woman would be the one to reign somewhere, because the position of...
Again, a woman reigning. This is the physician, the personal physician to Queen Catherine, who had 3 sons who became king.
Of king was always kept for men. The incredible thing is that Nostradamus never knew that almost 4 centuries later Queen Isabella began to reign. As we know, her son now inherited the reign, and as the prophecy said, the people...
Queen Elizabeth, Queen Isabella, like Queen Isabella of Spain, because I think she was queen before, back during this time period too. But well, maybe a little bit before Nostradamus' time. I think she was. Was Queen Isabella still around at that point in time? I think she was more like in the 1400s. Anyway, yeah, but that he met Queen Elizabeth, I'm assuming. Oh my gosh! But he's like, they didn't have queens back then. They didn't know that there would be queens in the future. And when Nostradamus was literally a consultant to a queen.
People did not want this to happen. The most impressive thing is that news from all over the world have shown in their reports how the new King of England hates being king and abhors it, just as the prophecy said. Just the day he began his reign, he was with his wife signing some documents when he did not realize that there were reporters watching and recording him. At that moment, the king got angry and said out loud that he was tired and hated what he was doing. In many videos, we can see the King of England saying that,
yeah, tedious paperwork. Why wouldn't he love doing that? This is ridiculous, of course. Yeah, so if a queen and a yeah, this is really off the rails from the animal thing. I promise he circles back to it. I watched this all the way through, but this part's funny anyway because yeah, they didn't know there'd be such thing as a queen in the future. It's like, what? They had queens. Nostradamus literally worked for a queen.
he is tired and that he does not like to do those things. Referring to the things that kings do, like signing many laws and many more things.
He's just whining about doing his job. We all can whine about doing our job and signing freaking tedious paperwork. It's okay.
But what does this prophecy have to do with the most recent videos we have seen of animals walking in circles? What did Nostradamus say hundreds of years ago that talks about the recent events of animals walking in circles for
Absolutely nothing.
more than 3 weeks without stopping? What we first have to understand is that hundreds of years ago China did not exist as a government, let alone an empire. We are talking about hundreds of years ago, so the prophecy does not speak directly about animals with strange but
It was Cathay back then. And it was like basically a legion of nations, essentially, of various people groups within the Chinese culture. Over a large area, and it was called Cathay. There's parts of Cathay that are their own countries now. There are parts of Cathay that were that are part of China now. It is different, but it's basically the same essential core nation or federation, if you will.
behaviors in China. The incredible thing
Is that Paul Camish I see? Paul Camish, it's good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you're here.
about the prophecy is that it is found immediately after the prophecy we talked about before. It is even found on the same page of the book. Experts say that this prophecy being on the same page of Nostradamus' Book of Prophecies means that we are talking about an event that will happen in the same year. That is why many people say that this prophecy speaks of what is currently
Yes, Paleologos. They're padding the runtime by repeating the same information again, and then adding a little bit, and then repeating the same information again, and adding a little bit more.
happening with the animals on the planet because it is in the same year that the death of
Again, we know the ants. We know because we're the hive. We know the ants are doing this because they've lost their scent trail. They lost their chemtrail, so they're circling. Yes, hit the like button, and if clockwise circles are spooky. Yes, absolutely. You know, sundials sometimes go clockwise, and I don't know why. It scares me, Mark. It scares me. You need to do a video on how sundials work on the flat Earth for me. All right, we know why the ants are doing this, and we know why the reindeer are
the
doing
queen
this.
occurs and her son will take power. But what does this prophecy
And we know why the fish do this. We know why the fish do this, right? So, bait ball for the fish, right? Losing their trail and doing the death spiral is what they call this with the ants, doing the death spiral. Different behavior completely from the bait ball. And then we have the reindeer cyclone, another phenomena that they're showing here. And these clips are not from the last few weeks. These are just clips from anything with animals going in circles. The reindeer stuff there was a documentary in 2019 about it. There's some horses that they keep showing in these videos too. We'll zoom through them, but Um, chemtrails are real, confirmed, right? Yes. Ants navigate by chemtrails. Someone tell Mark Sargent.
Say that has everyone so worried. The prophecy says the following. Strange.
And it's funny because those were manatees. The fish were like, manatees. Manatees are herbivores. The fish didn't have anything to worry about, but they still responded with their bait ball.
Behaviors will come, and the animals all over the earth will walk day and night with.
Strange behaviors will come, and the animals all over the earth will walk day and night without stopping. What?
Without stopping. The incredible thing about this prophecy is that, as we already know, the animals that went viral in the videos on social media have been walking in circles for more than 3 weeks without stopping. In a village in China, a farmer in the area...
No, not all these. These are not all videos of animals that have been walking for weeks. And only these sheep are the ones that did this 12-day walking thing. And we're going to talk about that.
Saw some strange behavior in some of his sheep. Then days later, he began to see that this behavior was repeated in all the sheep, so he worriedly installed a security camera to record in detail.
Not all the sheep, just sheep in a certain pen, and we're gonna look into that, and we're gonna speculate on that.
What was happening with the animals? To his surprise, he noticed that his sheep were walking in a circle for several days and did not stop at any time. Then he separated one of the sheep from the group, and this sheep started to walk in circles as well.
This part, I don't know where he's getting all the added narrative to the story. I couldn't find anything to support what he's saying here about how this was reported.
This person got very scared. Not only did this strange situation happen with these sheep, but in different videos we can see different types of animals with this behavior. Whales, wolves, reindeer, and even earthworms are walking in circles without stopping.
Earthworms don't walk, hun.
But what is the reason of this event?
Bait
How
ball.
could it affect us humans? Many think that this could be a sign
Manatees.
that something will happen soon, and others think that
Bait
these
ball.
are just coincidences and that this prophecy has nothing to do with the situation of the animals. Others think that this could be due to changes in the climate
Reindeer
and changes in the
cyclone.
planet that make animals start acting strangely. The truth is that such prophecies leave us astonished and frightened. How is it possible that a person hundreds of years ago knew exactly what would happen now? How did he know that there would be a queen and that her son would hate to inherit her reign? Like the more than 1,600 prophecies that have been fulfilled by this character, all of them are a mystery that we will never be able to understand. Tell me.
Nope, we understand a lot of
if you
this
think
stuff.
these prophecies.
We understand. No need to spookify it. We understand. So we went from hundreds of sheep to millions of animals. Then we went to Nostradamus prophecies. And this did kind of go viral a bit on this person. Posted a whole bunch of it. But here, this is just the reindeer cyclone. I'm going to post a few videos below and a movie about what it reminds me of, reindeer cyclone. Death spiral. This one's my favorite. I'm going to show you. It's muted though. Not this part, but the one with the part at the beginning with the cows. This, please look closely. You can see my mouse, right? Yes, I think you can. These guys right here, all of these guys right here. As a matter of fact, these guys over here too, and this guy right here, and these guys down here. These are cowboys wrangling these cows. These cows are being herded into that circle pattern, and they're doing the same or similar behavior to the reindeer cyclone, just because they're frightened and trying to get to the get away and protect their young. So they'll push the babies to the middle. The mothers usually push the baby on their. So with bovids, they'll walk with their baby most of the time on their left side, so that when they do, is it their left side? Yeah, on their left side. So when they do their herding behavior, the babies are pushed towards the middle, and the sick and the infirm are pushed towards the middle. But this is a bovid behavior. You see it in bison as well. Where the stronger individuals move to the outside, very similar to the reindeer cyclone, but not as fast. The reindeer cyclone is done extra fast compared to what other bovids do. And when I say bovids, Within the group that's bovids, there's a subgroup we'll talk about, but yeah, this is just being wrangled by cowboys. Just cowboys doing their job. More reindeer cyclone. These ones are on a fence. And then back to our sheep. And it just shows more of that. So it's really just, they're trying to claim that it's, this weird, bizarre thing that's happening all over, but it's not. And then this woman goes on to describe it like Stephen King's Cell. But there was another one someone posted down here. It had turkeys and stuff on it doing behavior, but we'll talk about that in a second too. Okay, so now we've gone from hundreds of sheep to millions of animals to Nostradamus prophecies, biblical prophecies, and where does this one take us? Let's see here.
Subscribe, please. Let's go. After the strange phenomenon raised questions and widespread controversy in the social media, some scientists revealed the reason.
I absolutely want you to pay attention to what's happening here.
Cameras of the movement of a herd of sheep in the form of
What? See this guy right here? This guy's herding these sheep. These sheep are being herded, and there's dogs too. There's dogs all over the place here. I've got the whole video for this. So.
For 12 days in the Mongolia region of northern China. And his professors at the
And when we look at this footage here, I just want to take note. Do you see the circle in the middle? Yeah. Let's keep that in mind. The circle on the ground, I mean. Because this path wasn't just worn over 12 days.
English University of Hartbury mentioned that the survival of sheep being in the barn for long periods led to this behavior. As they said, the sheep may have stayed inside the barn for long periods, and this may lead to stereotypical behavior.
I wasn't too much worried about the audio on this one anyway. It's just the same thing.
With frequent turning due to frustration of being in a limited space, and that the joining of other sheep to the circular march is because sheep are animals that live in flocks and do what other sheep do. Some scientists have also speculated that this unusual behavior of sheep could be caused by listeria.
Some scientists. I don't agree with the listeria thing.
Commonly known as circulatory disease, caused by anaerobic bacteria.
So I've seen what the results of those conditions are, and it's nothing like this. It's more like they look like stumbling drunks that are leaning to one side. Yeah, Paul, this would have been a good one to have you come on for. It's all nonsense.
Experts say the disease is usually transmitted through contaminated food, soil, and animal feces, and sometimes causes death in infected animals. Listeria bacteria cause meningitis that damages the nerves in the brain. Leading to facial paralysis, head tilt, numbness, and depression. Listeria infects humans and animals all over the world, especially in temperate and cold climates. According to the scientists, the signs and symptoms of listeria include circulatory disease, confusion, anorexia.
Oh, I'm muted again. I'm just freaking batting 1,000. I said, yeah. You see what they're doing here, with the person in the middle, and the dogs running the outside. The dogs are trained to keep all the sheep between them and the person. There's like 6 dogs. Running around here in this video, and this person in the middle, and they're trained to keep the sheep in between them and their master, and it makes a big circle with a smaller circle in the middle where the master stands, where the dog's master stands.
Rotation, facial paralysis, and persistent salivation, involuntary running. Veterinarians have suggested that the disease be treated with high doses of antimicrobials that may be effective if given early
This is fast forwarded, by the way. These sheep aren't actually moving this
in
fast.
the infection. Other scientists also mentioned that in addition to the herd mentality dominating the social behavior of sheep, controlling the movements of animals, some astronomical observatories have observed as if something revolves around the Earth and is about to collide with it.
Yes, that sheep herding was invented, and it's wild that the of all people that because Nostradamus was a biblically based prophet, you know, so he his prophecies were from biblical point of view, and shepherd culture is very important to the biblical perspective. Shepherds are often used as allegory in biblical tales and parables, right? So it's bizarre that a culture that'd be very familiar with this behavior is 2,000 years later, or I guess from Nostradamus 500 years later, making it out like normal sheep herding behavior is supernatural.
Causing some
What is supernatural about this is, or not supernatural about this, is unnatural about this is the longevity of the sheep doing it, but we'll talk about that.
terrible to happen to it, so it rotates with it as it rotates, and then there may be a great cosmic event approaching the Earth. And as we know that animals feel natural disasters before they occur, such as earthquakes, volcanoes, and tsunamis,
That's true. Animals do respond that way to natural disasters and the like.
and that the Earth's magnetic field is about to collapse, and that all animals and birds have a very high sensitivity to any
That's a leap that the what? It's going to collapse? Where did that come from?
change in the Earth's electromagnetic
Because sheep walk in circles.
waves, and we note that the Earth's magnetic field has the same circular shape as the movement of animals as we can see in this figure. And this is what makes all animals rotate in a circular motion affected by the change in the electromagnetic field of the Earth. And this happens with ants, as we see in this section. These are
Those fish doing a bait ball?
fish that swim in a circular shape.
It's called a bait ball.
As well as those birds that
And this is standard turkey mating behavior, and flocking behavior. They'll do this in the woods, like in the middle of the woods. They'll chase each other around a tree. Turkeys are funny little creatures. Hey, Amy, good to see ya.
circle around the tree continuously.
Because turkeys are big dorks. They do, this is part of normal turkey behavior too. Just so you know, they just do this. Don't you feel like walking in circles sometimes, Peter?
And also these turtles that run in a circle.
These tortoises are just playing. Tortoises play. They're like dogs, but slower. They do play. I've had several tortoises in my life. Actually, I miss my tortoises as much as I miss my dogs. But that's normal behavior for them. They're playful animals. I used to have a patio where we would have the table and they would chase each other around the table. My daughter has ferrets, and the ferrets and the tortoises would play together sometimes. So, like dogs, but slower, yes. Tortoises are playing and chasing each other around in circles like dogs in a yard. That's all that you're seeing here. And it's been sped up to make them look like they're going faster, but they don't really book it quite that speedily. But they can get going pretty good. And it's just they're playing chase in a
Even
circular
worms in
room.
the ground have been monitored. Those worms are walking in a circular shape, as we can see in this clip.
I couldn't make out what these were enough to find any details about it. I knew these were ants though, and we know why ants do this. It's the death spiral.
And all of this is definitely not a coincidence, and some have interpreted that the rotation of the sheep in a
Right, but it's all not actually happening at the same time.
circular manner is with the aim of generating energy for heating, and this opinion is refuted by why this phenomenon was not monitored, except for those days. In addition to that, if the sheep wanted to heat, they sleep close to each other. So
There's the
far,
reindeer
no
cyclone.
logical explanation based on scientific foundations has been reached to explain this strange phenomenon.
Because there is no
What do
strange
you think?
phenomena.
Is the cause of this phenomenon the effect of the Earth's electromagnetic field or listeria disease?
All right. There's no phenomenon here. I'm sorry. This is hundreds of sheep. We'll go with that. So we're gonna nix the prophecy. No phenomenon. The fact that they're saying this is happening with different animals is absolutely silly. This is happening with just this one pen of sheep in China. So all these other animals walking in circles, the tortoises walking in circles, that was not associated with the sheep. The reindeer doing it is part of their natural behavior. It's called a reindeer cyclone. It's been recorded since ancient times as a reindeer behavior. This is also a natural behavior in other groups of ungulates as well, including cows. Bovids have a similar response to being pursued by predators or by cowboys or by herd dogs, and respond this same way, where they circle around and put the vulnerable in the middle. For the ants, we know they lost their way. Now, the dates on these, it's most of the stuff that's talking about this being bizarre phenomena is mostly from mid-November when this thing happened with the sheep until now. No one has really done any debunking on it though, which is weird because it's very common behavior. Like this is 3 years ago talking about the ants being trapped in their death trap. I just wanted to show that this isn't new phenomena that's just now being recorded. People have been talking about ants doing this for a while. They lose their trail. Again, why are reindeers running in circles? This video came out in April of 2021. So this is from a year ago, over a year and a half ago, actually. But talking about the reindeer behavior, the reindeer cyclone. Okay, that's normal behavior for them. Now, here's something that we didn't talk about yet. And this is something that we see in animals in captivity that have been in captivity for too long. And this is what my idea about the sheep is. I think that they've been in that pen too long. But what is zoochosis? How do animals get it? If you've ever been to the zoo and seen the polar bear swimming in circles compulsively for hours, or seen the tiger pacing back and forth endlessly, or the elephant swaying back and forth rhythmically, all with blank looks in their eyes, you've witnessed an animal suffering from zoochosis. There are people who argue that animals are happy in zoos, or at least content. Are they? Keep reading and learn about zoochosis and what it tells us about the degree to which captive animals suffer. So yes, it's behavior of animals in enclosed spaces. And we have signs here. Pacing, bar biting, bobbing, weaving, swaying, rocking, self-mutilation, over-grooming, regurgitating and re-ingesting food. Yeah. Look at this poor elephant with all the scratches on its face from the rubbing on the bars, too. It's a psychological disease that affects captive animals, especially higher intelligent ones. But like we see a lot of it is the study and research is focused on elephants and big cats and bears in the way that they respond to being enclosed in captivity. So, yeah, this is a real disease that the animals do get, and the behaviors can include, walking or moving in circles, just pathologically, I guess would be the best way to describe it. It's unfortunate that it happens, but I think that may explain what we're seeing here, because I don't think this is just where I was reading about listeriosis and the symptoms involved with it, how animals behave. And I don't think that what we're seeing in this video has anything to do with this disease, especially because of the mortality rate. Here's the horses, though, going in the circle. I didn't get to show that earlier, but horses do this same behavior. It's normal behavior for cursorial prey animals to do that are indigenous to like open grasslands and stuff. Here's some turkeys doing it. Yep, turkeys circling up. You get lots of videos of it. Bizarre. Those two are just circling each other. Turkey's being dorky. Yep, and then here's just showing you that like bait balls are not even a mysterious phenomena. They're if you watched Blue World, or Blue Planet, I mean, there's Blue Planet's clips of it right there. They talk about it, and it's basically, this is like the food source for the open sea. There you go. Bait balls. And then let's look at this real quick. I'm going to speed this up like twice as fast. So keep in mind this is going super fast when we watch it, okay? But this right here is normal trained behavior for captive sheep, right? To go in this circle like this. And usually there's somewhere where you train the dogs. Notice that circle in the middle of our 12-day sheep, kind of doing a similar pattern. I do like watching how they move from the drone footage, though. I'm keeping them all together. They flow. That was already sped up, and I sped it up some more. Now it looks crazy. Look how fast the dogs look. And as they're pushing them one way or the other, and then when I keep them stationary, they wrap them around their owner. And look at that. And it's always still in the middle. Okay, look at it. Still in the middle, and the outer edge is circling. Now, this is the reason we can herd sheep this way is because they have that same natural instinct to circle around and shoulder and move the young and the vulnerable and the infirm to the middle. That is a natural behavior they have in response to predators. That allows us to herd them this way because they have that natural instinct. But it also happens when there is one of the sheep is giving birth. They'll circle around her like that. When one of them's injured or sick, they'll circle around them. And the reason why this keeps moving with the person in the middle is because they can't they can't keep the middles, the ones that they want to keep on the inside away from the man, because the dogs are keeping the man in the middle in between their herd, so they don't have a chance to stop, and then they circle around. So there's the space for the person in the middle, and if they live in this pen and that person comes in the middle and stands there like that all the time, they're going to get that's going to be his space, and they're going to circle around that but not enter that space. But then you see them. That there are some in the middle, right? Lucky hates drones. But that's what I wanted to show you. That the sheep are conditioned to move in this counterclockwise, circular manner with a person in the middle and the dogs on the outside. I don't see any dogs in the video from China. My speculation, and this is pure speculation on my part, so keep that in mind. Pure speculation on my part is that what we are looking at in the sheep video, the hundreds of sheep video, this one, is I think that there may be a sick individual in the herd, maybe one of these ones in the middle. And because there's no way to get away from the sick individual, they're circling around in response to the notion that their fellow sheep is going to die soon and it will attract predators. So they're waiting. I speculate that they're waiting for somebody to die in the herd. That is my speculation completely, and only on my part am I making that interpretation. But that would be the only thing that I would say that would cause them to go on doing this for so long, short of just general zoochosis, is that maybe that there's somebody in here there's a sheep in the herd that they're expecting to die, and maybe it's taking longer than they anticipated when they originally thought, but or sensed that there was sickness among them. I don't know, because they said the sheep are healthy. I can't say for sure, but there are a lot of behaviors in bovids that this is definitely in line with, and the fact that this circle exists in the middle of the pen, that this circle exists, this perfect circle, it looks like, indicates to me that that's where that he has his dogs come in there and he trains them to herd the sheep in a circle right there. I think that that you can get the sheep going like that too, and keep them going like that for quite a bit. That's my opinion on it. If you disagree, definitely leave your comments down below and let me know. This has been Cryptic Corner. We are looking at the spiraling sheep and the animal prophecy of Nostradamus. I'm not convinced. I think that this is overblown, overhyped, and not actually even happening. So, thank you for joining us in Cryptic Corner today. If you're watching this on Friday night, please drop in again tomorrow morning for Live from the Hive, and we will see you then. For everybody else, stick around. We are moving into CreationWatch after these ads from my friends, not from my sponsors, just from my friends. I'd rather support them. So here we go.
Hello and welcome. Godless Granny is about a lot of things. I talk about any issue that affects me or on which I have strong opinions. Most frequently, that's religious issues, women's issues, transgender issues, and political issues. I believe in social justice and equality for all. I feel that everyone has a right to believe what they want, but that right doesn't absolve you of criticism of your beliefs. Thus, I criticize both outlying religious ideas and mainstream ideology. I welcome theists to discuss or debate their issues with me live on stream. Contact me on Twitter if you'd like to do that. I was a Christian for 42 years. In my last decade as a believer, I became increasingly liberal, seeing that as being more consistent with biblical ideas. But eventually, the cognitive dissonance between liberal thought and certain parts of the Bible brought me to evolve my theology. I still hung on to the inerrancy of the Bible and continued to look for ways to interpret the Bible to fit reality. But when it was proven to me that the biblical flood did not happen, thank you, Aaron Ra, Vice Rhino, and Pelagia, there was no longer anywhere to go. I had to let go of inerrancy. But without the Bible, my faith had no foundation, and then I left the faith. I have since met people of faith who reject inerrancy. I find this a more honest faith, but I also find it a purely human construct. Why believe in a God if you have to make up the God and what the God is all about? I now criticize the very religious beliefs that I held for decades, as I now realize that they not only do not originate from a God that loves me, but that they were dangerous in that they limited me. They limited me as a person by discouraging thought and learning. It restricted my relationships and my ability to develop myself as a person. I hope to do several things here. I hope to reach others of my generation, as we are the primary people that are still holding on to this outdated ideology. Second, I hope to reach the younger generation, imploring them not to follow in my footsteps. And third, I hope to show how the younger generation who has already left the faith can reach their parents. What arguments did I find convincing that will likely convince their parents? So come on in, let's have a chat.
I think this is the first time I ever engaged you was to ask if you were going to talk about this in one of your debates, is the Cambrian explosion and the misrepresentation. And you know, at this point, for a lot of these guys, it's a deliberate misrepresentation because they've been corrected about the misnomer that is the Cambrian explosion. You want to go ahead and fill us in a little bit about that?
Yeah, I did actually have one conversation about the Cambrian explosion with a long story short a number of months back. After I first saw his videos, the team and I who do the videos, after we first ran across him, we did 2 responses to his video. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, he's basically reprising Darwin's Doubt. Darwin's Doubt, for anyone who doesn't know, is a book written in 2013 by the Discovery Institute fellow Stephen Meyer, who's not a biologist, he's not a paleontologist, he's not a geologist, he's a philosopher of science. Perfectly respectable field, not relevant to the topic.
Yeah.
And so Meyer writes this tome. I mean, this is like a 500-page book on the Cambrian explosion. That it really proposes 2 theses. The first is that the fossil record shows what looks like an act of divine creation. You have nothing, and then you have the Cambrian organisms. They all just pop out of nowhere. Then his second thesis is that mutations and natural selection can't account for the diversity of life that appears in the Cambrian. Well, they're both just flat wrong. They're both really bad theses, but because for one thing, there were organisms preceding the Cambrian critters. We've known that since I think the 60s. Although it's only been relatively recently that the Ediacarans, which are the organisms preceding the Cambrian, or immediately preceding the Cambrian, have been identified. There are things like Kimberella and Dickinsonia and Hautia, which are animals. And in fact, some of them are bilaterians. And so we have, and actually just earlier this year, I believe, or late last year, was another fossil identified from Australia called Icaria wariutia, which is this little unsegmented, almost worm-like animal, which is a bilaterian. And it matches the features that were predicted based on the tracks Helminthoid dicnites. And so the researchers predicted what this thing should have looked like based on these tracks. And there we have it.
Yeah.
We have the body fossils now.
That's how science should work. Exactly. Finding trackways, making predictions based on those, and then following through with that. And the misrepresentation that you see a lot with the Cambrian explosion is that they characterize it as an explosion, and we're talking about a 20 million year period. That's
Yep.
that's not it's not a quick event, and you're talking about mostly single-celled organisms at the time that reproduce very, very quickly. Yeah, mostly single-cell. I know that there were multicellular organisms as well at the time, but that reproduce quickly. There's plenty of time for diversification and speciation in that window.
Yeah, you're right. It is a 25 million year time frame, and it's framed as they came out of nowhere. They just instantly appear in the fossil record. But there's actually there is a lead up to the Cambrian, and the better picture that we constantly get, because researchers are constantly digging up fossils and doing stratigraphic analyses. Well, this is getting better all the time, and so our picture of the Cambrian is increasingly getting better. Well, we're seeing a series of steps leading up to the Cambrian explosion proper. You've got your soft-bodied bilaterians, then you have small, shelly critters, things hyoliths and halkyarids, and a lot of these are stem groups. So they're the sort of the predecessors of the crown groups, and these are appearing in the early Cambrian. And then you have the crown groups appearing in the later Cambrian, and they surpass and take over and replace most of the stem lineages. And that looks pretty evolutionary to me. But, of course, most creationists, most intelligent design people are entirely unfamiliar with paleontology, entirely unfamiliar with paleobiology and geology. And
they depend on their audience being unfamiliar with that stuff too. That's really
absolutely.
Did the evolutionists just kill a pterodactyl? Or did they finally catch up to the creationists?
Obviously, there's not going to be a ton of talk about these things. And the thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, back in the Civil War. And they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out. And this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge wing length. And it's a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so, I don't believe that just because, at some point in time, coming from your perspective, that, just because they stopped talking about it means that they never saw it, when we have all this evidence that they've seen it.
Hello, my name is John Pendleton, and I'm speaking to you from Zacatecas, Mexico, center of Mexico. And today I'm going to tell you of my project to attract and capture a real living pterodactyl dinosaur.
But to the Christian, it makes common sense. Of course, there could be a few still alive. That's the first sighting I've heard of in Fort Worth, Texas. I've heard of them in Arizona. A friend of mine knows where some of them live, and he's going to go catch them and put them in a dinosaur adventure land he's going to build. And I can't reveal the details yet.
They're a form of what people call them pterodactyl, but if you consider them descended from some type of ramphorhynch or pterosaur.
All right, we are here for Creation Watch. Good evening, everybody, and hello, live chat on live from the Hive Saturday morning as well. Thank you for sticking around. I think Mark Reed had to dip. He's on the far side of the planet. So we're going to say goodnight to Mark Reed, and I'm glad you were able to hang out and enjoy. If you're not subscribed to Mark Reed, what are you even doing? Yeah. Go over and subscribe to Mark Reed. Someone with a wrench. Drop Mark's link if you would, please. Appreciate you guys so much. Yeah, that was the reason I ran those two back-to-back, those ads, the Jackson Wheat and the Godless Granny ones, because anything between those two, send it to me, and I will put it in between for my coffee break ads that I'm putting to help break the show down so that every segment is standalone. I'm putting these ads in short video clips or whatever in between. So if you got something you made, like a cute cartoon or edited video, you want to put it on there, even if you have just a like a image I can make into a 30-second GIF to put up, like to pop in between the different video ads. I can do that too. Just let me know, and I'll be happy to accommodate you. I'm looking to fill 5 to about 5. I want to go 5 and up to 10 minutes in between. This was actually a little bit longer today than I normally want to do, but I just wanted to show both of those. So you saw Robbie's ad at the beginning, where it was his actual channel ad. Then you had Kelly's Godless Granny's channel trailer, and then you had just my interaction with Jackson. And everything in between, and then we're going to finish with Ring sent just a fun video where they were singing the words of Christmas music to Black Sabbath rhythm. It's fun stuff. Anyway, it looks like we got overwhelming love for Paul Kamish in the side chat. Everybody wants him to come back because we did like a 2021 review in January of all the UFO video, because that's 2021 was when all the video footage of the government release stuff, the Pentagon release videos, the UFOs. We went over those. So I want Paul to come back and we'll do like a recap of this year as well and look at UFOs and maybe some other phenomena too. So if Paul's up for it, I am definitely here for it. Would love to have you back on, my dude. And yeah, as far as that goes, a little more house cleaning here and in between segments as well. This is CreationWatch, though. This is where we look at people who claim that the Earth and the universe in itself had a little bit more to it than natural resources to generate it, and some of the claims that get tagged along with that. Now, this segment does cross over quite a bit with our CryptoCorner segment, but not often not often. It does often, but often some subjects that toe the line are a little bit more out there and demand a little more scrutiny from a supernatural point of view. So today we're going to look at someone explaining their trip to the afterlife to us and kind of getting an idea of what the claims that they're making is. So, hang in there with me. This is an interesting one. I'll just say that. And there's some claims that I want to break open and kind of look at. So, let's see here. Says it's going to give us goosebumps. So, let's give them a chance to give us some goosebumps. Now it's going to open with some other people, but the main person that's going to talk about is this Dr. Eben Alexander.
I think 90% of people believe there is an afterlife.
I faded out, like, from reality, and
the next thing after that I remember was seeing myself on the emergency table, and they were working on me, trying to revive me.
being brought up this tunnel of light.
I was feeling all this love and this acceptance.
An hour later, the doctor came out and she said she was fine. And out of nowhere, she just asked when she can see God again.
Most people are raised to believe that we are born, we age, and then we die. It's the natural cycle of life to death. Easy to see and understand, but what do you believe happens after we die? This is where opinion splits. Some have spiritual practices or experiences that describe our afterlife. Some believe in what they can see, touch, and measure. But can your beliefs on the afterlife change? I wasn't sure until I heard of Dr. Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon who went through a near-death experience in 2008.
He was a man of science. He didn't believe in it.
When I was younger, I thought a heaven and a loving God made sense, but through my academic neurosurgery career, I saw less and less that could be the case.
He's a neurosurgeon, so, I mean, he's going to make his case here, and we're going to see if we're convinced that there's an afterlife, okay? Oh, Natasha knows me so well. Yeah, this is we're gonna talk about hallucinations in neuroscience.
I started out in a primitive earthworm eye view, very coarse, unresponsive realm, which
primitive earthworm. He uses that term a lot too. I don't know if I've ever thought that we were comparable to earthworms. We have very different evolutionary trajectory.
I think in retrospect was the best consciousness my brain could muster when it was soaking in pus and the neocortex, the human part of the brain, was being destroyed. But then I was rescued from that by a slowly spinning white light into a beautiful, ultra-real, idyllic valley filled with life and growing plants with butterflies.
Oh, good. Here's where we start getting into some of the claims here. So, when we see people talking about heaven, that's one of the things that a lot of people talk about is flowers and butterflies. Very beautiful, serene kind of settings, right? But flowers are reproductive organs of plants, of angiosperm plants. Is there reproduction in heaven? Is this something that's like, do the plants flower? If there's no reproduction, why are they flowering? The color of flowers and the shape of flowers are designed to attract pollinators to carry their pollen from one flower to another and cross-pollinate them to allow them to reproduce with genetic diversity. So, if there's flowers in heaven, is there a reproductive cycle? And butterflies in and of themselves are pollinators, and that's what they do. Is they carry their reproductive transportation for. So even if they're immortal butterflies, what purpose are they serving? That's the whole. This, when it comes to insects, the adult form is a short-lived, generally speaking, part of their life. They're not like tetrapods. They don't grow up to their adult size and then spend the majority of their life in that form. They spend the majority of their life in their adolescent form, I guess is what we could compare it to for tetrapods, and their infant form, and caterpillar form, and grub form, whatever you want to call it. Depends on the clade of insects. With butterflies, it's caterpillars. But yeah, they spend a great deal of their life in that stage, and this adult form is just their final stage. So I don't understand why what butterflies would be doing in heaven. Yeah. So do you think that Paleologist says, I mean, the Bible does say that there are trees in life is going in fruit and stuff. So there is reproduction going on in heaven. That's biblical. Will you please give me those verses, babe? I couldn't find anything about it. I appreciate it, because this is a portion of this topic that I am always like scratching my head about, like when people talk about heaven, because it seems like that there's an ecosystem in heaven or of some kind. But I don't know if it's just a representative ecosystem, or if it's like supposed to be an objective ecosystem.
Sparkling pools of water, angelic choirs up above, emanating tremendous, awesome, and joy and beauty in these incredible anthems, chants, and hymns that came down from above, and then ascended up beyond that.
See, so some of this stuff he's saying it's maybe he's saying it's representative, because I mean, to him it's butterflies and fields of flowers, but to someone else it might be white fluffy clouds and golden fountains, something like that. That maybe it's subjective to each individual's description, or the way that they feel like the afterlife should look from their cultural upbringing that they experience. Because understand, my opinion is that when we die, that energies that run our body, the electrical impulses and all that stuff, dissipate into the atmosphere. They don't of course not destroyed. That energy goes back into the system, and so does all the matter that makes up your body, and eventually finds its way back into the system as well. Beautiful process. I'm not disparaging this as a idea to view the afterlife as, dissipating and going back into the system, because I find that comforting for me. That's why I identify as I haven't figured out what to call it, a Gaian atheist, where I believe we're all part of one big giant superorganism that's billions of years old, and are all that make up what we are as an organic organism, and a being is in of itself as a whole. Oh, it's Revelations. Okay. Thank you, Peter. I will look at those verses. I'm not disagreeing with you. Because I always hear people talking about butterflies and flowers and stuff. And mostly you hear that as more of a neutral position, because people who, with a more Abrahamic belief, they'll often see Christ, or something along those lines instead. See Christ in a white, at the end of a white tunnel, things like that, or Christ, or they saw Grandma and Christ, or their loved ones standing with Jesus, things like that. And then people, of course, it gets cultural to other people who have near-death experiences as well. So I don't believe near-death, whether or not there's an afterlife, and I don't believe in an afterlife either, just to be blunt. But I don't think that the refuting NDEs doesn't say anything about an afterlife. I'm going to say that right now. I'm not out to refute the existence of an afterlife in this stream. What I'm out to do at this moment is to look at near-death experiences and how they're reported, and what I think causes the phenomena. So I don't think this has anything to do with the afterlife when we talk about near-death experiences at all.
Into realms beyond all time and space.
During his experience, he was taken to a heaven-like place where everything he thought he knew about neuroscience was proven wrong. Shortly after, he wrote the best-selling book titled Proof of Heaven. What I find fascinating about this particular
I can't buy the book because I'm broke right now, but if anybody wants to buy me the book, I will read it. If anybody wants to buy any of the media that I talk about on these, all I would be able to do right now would be to read excerpts from it. I don't think that would do it justice. So I'm not going to respond to anything he says in his book. I'm just going to respond to what he's saying in this video.
Near-death experience is Dr. Eben's scientific background. His understanding of the brain and the way he's able to expertly describe what happened to him. Hear it in his words.
I woke up about 4:30 in the morning with severe back pain, headache, and then the next thing my family knew is I was lapsed into general epileptic seizures. I was in grand mal status, which meant I was just seizing and completely unconscious, and that's when they called the EMTs, took me off to the Lynchburg General Hospital emergency room, and did a lumbar puncture. Out came thick white pus under pressure.
My neurologic exam showed devastation. The reality is I just went deep into coma, and it was a severe case of E. coli bacterial meningitis, which is a real shocker because almost all cases of E. coli meningitis occur in newborns. It's very...
That is terrifying. That is a terrifying illness to come down with.
Rare to encounter it beyond the age of 3 months. You know, how did this happen? And then I deteriorated through that week on 3 powerful antibiotics. They'd had me on a ventilator from the get-go. One of the unusual features of my near-death experience is that I was amnesic. I had no memory of Eben Alexander's life. I had no language, no words, no knowledge of Earth, this universe. It was a completely empty slate, and that's quite unusual for an NDE, but I think it was important in teaching me some of the deeper lessons. My brain was shut down. There's something called the Glasgow Coma Scale that you use to measure coma. Anybody in this room would score a 15. That means they're doing great. If you're a corpse, you get a 3. Anything below 9 is deep coma. And for the vast majority of that week in coma, I was around a 6 or 7, sometimes as low as a 5. So I was in deep coma the whole time. They had CT and MRI scan data showing that all 8 lobes of my brain were affected. No part was spared. And that's why to have an extraordinarily rich experience, far more real than any...
This terrifying to think that, you know, you can just suddenly get sick like that. Well, ring plants are definitely having sex in heaven. If there's flowers, the plants are having sex in heaven and reproducing. Yeah, as far as the butterflies, they may be immortal. I don't know. I don't know how the butterflies work, but the flowers and fruit indicate that there's a life cycle there for food. I guess that food's only eaten for pleasure, though, because you can really like starve to death.
Anything I'd ever experienced in my life completely violates everything I thought I knew about brain, mind, and
because you need a conscious brain to experience.
But no, you don't. The brain is a filter. Its main function is actually to restrict consciousness down to this tiny little illusion of kind of self. And
yeah, so we like, and he's not wrong here. I mean, when he's a neuroscientist, he knows what he's talking about here with the way that your brain restricts what we see. It's like we don't see all the spectrums of light. It's like the flowers I was just talking about. Those flowers look freaking gorgeous to us, but to bugs and birds, to pollinators, they look freaking magnifique. We can't even imagine how beautiful they look to them or what they even look like to them because they see an entirely different spectrum of light. We can only replicate it by altering the way the rest of the environment looks in comparison to the flowers. We can't even get a clear visual representation of what they see, right? So there's parts of the world and the way that they can be perceived that we don't have access to because it would overload our circuits, I guess, in a way. Like seeing in a spectrum of ultraviolet may limit our ability to see in spectrums of infrared, which allows us to... Being colorblind is problematic as a frugivore because you want to be able to see red, right? You want to be able to see red among the green because that's why those fruits are red. That's why they're red like that, so that they can say, hey, come eat me and spread my seeds. That's part of a process, a reproductive process. We are part of a reproductive process for plants. Anyway, yeah, so we are limited in the way that we can perceive and interact with the world around us. The frequencies we can hear, the light levels that we can see, the color spectrum that we can see, our tactile experiences are limited to certain grain levels, right? We can only feel, to a certain degree, we can only feel smoothness with our big fat sausage fingers, but there are finer grains and contours to the world than that, to the physical world that we interact with, right? There are energy frequencies that we can't see. There are some energy frequencies that we can't sense consciously, but our body unconsciously senses, like gravitational forces and things like that. There's a balance in your inner ear that you don't even think about until you get spun around. but the whole time you're experiencing that's not objective. That's subjective to you, that gravity is down. Without that, you are just disarticulated and not disarticulated. What's the word I'm looking for? Disarticulated. It's like they do to it, like spreading out a skeleton. It's what like sea lions don't have this issue. Their world is 3D. They up and down. It's totally different for them. Please give me that word that I'm trying to think of, because it's going to keep escaping me. I know Purple and Ring and Peter and all these smart people are out there. Y'all know the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the video. I'm rambling.
Non-self, all the stuff out there, and a here and now. But so much of that is really a fiction.
Hey, Maya.
You step over from this world into the next. What happened?
Well, for me, that journey began in a very primitive, coarse, unresponsive realm.
Maya, you missed the circling sheep. It was our cryptic corner for today. It was a weird one. Kyle, you missed it too. You guys have to go. I'll re-release it. I'm probably going to bump it up on the schedule because it's topical. But yeah, the circling of the sheep, and I think I blew the lid off of it. But what do you guys think? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I did a bad job. But anyway, now we're talking about visiting the afterlife.
It was like being in dirty jello. I called it the earthworm's eye view. And I was there for a very long period of time. I'm sure I didn't have any kind of memory formation moment to moment. So it seemed to last forever. But the good news is it didn't. I was rescued by this slowly spinning, pure white light with fine silvery and golden tendrils. And as it came towards me, I realized it came with a perfect musical melody. Not music heard with the ears, because in those realms, our awareness goes far beyond the limitations of physical eyes and ears and a physical brain.
See, that's what I'm talking about. He's getting into some music of the inner stuff now. So that's pretty telling of kind of experience this is. He's probably considering this music that is being heard through his spirit, maybe.
Brain. But the good news is that beautiful spinning white light opened up into a brilliant.
Yeah, you can go there, Maya, on vacation. Apparently, there's this pink-haired prophet of the Lord named Kat Kerr who goes there all the time, and there's like, she was talking about like water slides and stuff. I think. I'm imagining the water slides are through. Maybe strawberry rivers or nacho cheese rivers would be pretty cool too. I love me some nacho cheese.
Ultra-real realm that I call the Gateway Valley. And that was filled with many Earth-like features. It was a world of perfection and ideals. There was no death or decay anywhere. Beautiful, lush plant life, flowers, buds on trees, blossoms, colors beyond the...
Yeah, there's buds on trees and blossoms. So there are reproductive cycles that are happening in heaven. There is an ecology, it sounds like. Is the ecology the same or similar to ours? Are the physics the same and similar to ours? Are the plants subject to the forces of gravity that causes up and down? Do we retain our sense of up and down? Because he's talking about being awoken to new. Are we seeing the new color spectrums? Because we're no longer limited to our human eyes, where we are only able to experience the world through the narrow scope of our brain receptors and our senses that we have available to us. Once released from those and not restrained by that human body, are we able to see all these spectrums of light? Are we experiencing gravity? Are the substances of this world the same? If we look at the chemical makeup of the rocks, if we look up the genetics of the plants, are they the same as they are on Earth? Are the plants in heaven and the plants that you experience, the flowers, Are those flowers that lived and died on earth and now live immortal in heaven? The butterflies, are they immortal butterflies, or that are just native to this heaven landscape, to this heavenly landscape? Or are they butterflies that died in our ecosystem? Is the light, the light spectrums in heaven the same? Is the light made up of the same different wavelengths and all that stuff? I have so many questions about the representation of heaven and why it would be subject to the laws of physics for our physical world, why our perceptions would be limited to those that have evolved to perceive our physical world, and if we're going into the afterlife, how are all these things perceived, and how is he able to process them back to how they would be perceived to a human mind?
Rainbow, I was a speck of awareness on a butterfly wing among millions of butterflies, looping and spiraling in vast formations above this gateway valley. And in that valley were thousands.
So are the butterflies symbolic? Because butterflies have a life cycle. Again, they're part of a life form's final stages of adulthood, where they consume enough to have nutrients to reproduce, and then reproduce and die. That's most butterflies. Some butterflies live a little bit longer in their adult form, especially if they have like a migratory pattern that they have to follow. But yeah, we need to let it play, because we're only 5 minutes in, and we only have 15 minutes.
Thousands of beings dancing, lots of joy and merriment. And when I wrote it all up weeks later, I said these were souls. I knew there were souls between lives, and that there was this incredible joy.
Oh my gosh, I love the visual. I can't help but stop again to say I love the visuals they use for the people. Just people dancing. People just getting down.
Joy and merriment going on, and it was all being fueled because up above were these swooping orbs, pure spiritual orbs of divine energy, these which I came to call angelic choirs when I had to put a label on them. But it was the anthems and chants and hymns that would thunder down from this beautiful chorus of angels above. It was
thundering hymns from above. Again, I don't know how sensory perception works in this plane. Yeah, I think he's a Christian. We'll see. He'll get to it here in a little bit. Paleologos, but because I have, to a certain extent at least, I get overwhelmed. I'm not me, not as bad as a lot of people, but I got like sensory overload about some things, especially audible things. So I'm wondering if I'm going to be subject to that in heaven, but I think it's because of the physical pressure on my eardrums, though. But I won't have eardrums when I'm dead. How do I hear this stuff? He is a fiction writer. Yeah, seems like it.
Incredible festivity, sparkling waterfalls into crystal blue pools, and all of this joy and merriment, children playing, and dogs.
The bow tie is kind of sexy, I'm not going to lie.
Dogs jumping.
So
incredible happiness.
Your senses are heightened and not contained and not confined.
Got to remember, our brain and our eyes and ears, they give us a very kind of diluted down version of
True. It is diluted.
Reality compared to that. There, it's like drinking through a fire hose, an incredible ocean of this loving awareness. And
fire hose of love. Do not Google that, because that's going to bring up other stuff. But it's like drinking from a fire hose. Sounds terrifying to me with your soul.
For me, in that beautiful Gateway Valley realm, on the wing of that butterfly, my first awareness of the divine was a sense of a divine wind, or the breath.
A producer, you are winning me over with these butterfly shots, though, I gotta say.
Of God, as I called it in some of my early writings.
And the flowers, not gonna lie.
That blew through, and it was amazing because even though the elements of the scene stayed the same, all of a sudden I realized the incredible power of that divine force, of that causal force of an infinitely loving God. Not a...
How is he infinitely... I don't know if he's Christian yet or not, Peter. I think he is, or claims to be.
Judging God, one of infinite love, of being home, of our spiritual essence, of the purity of our being. With comfort that really goes beyond any words.
So you felt comforted.
And that's why
you felt at peace.
Absolutely, and that is such a beautiful lesson that comes not just from my near-death experience, but from near-death experiences across all cultures, all nations, going back several thousand years. The stories are always of this beautiful peace, like we are home. This incredible joy and oneness, and that God force.
Well, I think it's this God force that he's talking about here. And again, I don't think that this speaks anything to the actual existence of an afterlife. I think that's actually unfalsifiable, the notion of an afterlife. But I don't think near-death experiences are the result of visiting the afterlife. I think that they're the result of the cocktail of chemicals that run your brain, releasing certain compositions, including the chemical makeup of DMT, in order to relax your brain and your body. So in the throes of death, you're not going berserk there in your death throes. You'll see it in some animals and things when they, especially prey species like deer, when they get attacked by a big cat or they get attacked by anything really, except for a crocodile, which will pull them underwater and drown them. But anything that uses like the choke out method to take down a prey species, you'll actually see them enter a state of where their body's still twitching, but obviously they're no longer aware of their senses. I think that the way that our studies have shown, and this is mostly done with rodents, that we can see how their nerve endings, they shut down and draw back, and it triggers a release of a chemical cocktail in the brain that's saying, "Oh, going offline. Here's your shutdown screens to ease your brain into this shutdown mode," and you kind of crash out. Now, this speaks nothing to the existence or inexistence of an afterlife. Like I said, I am willing to debate about near-death experiences, but I don't think near-death experiences are a good example. If you want to compete with me, I absolutely, I got people bringing it up to me all the time. I'm absolutely happy to have a debate about near-death experiences. I have done a lot of research on the topic, so bring your A game, and I'll definitely discuss it with you. But let's let Dr. Alexander
So pure,
continue.
infinite love is so healing. The good news is you don't need a near-death experience to know this. It turns out that it didn't all happen in that Gateway Valley. That in fact the music from those angelic choirs provided portals to higher and higher levels, all the way out to the core. And the core was infinite, inky blackness, but filled to overflowing with that God force of love. And all in the setting of the entire material universe and lower spiritual realms having been shrunk down to this complex oversphere that was there as a source of lessons and teaching. But in that realm was this incredible oneness with the divine, a sense that our...
So, Purple, that's kind of what I'm wondering too. Like, do you maintain the restrictions of your physical anatomy when you go to heaven, when you die in the real afterlife? That's what I want to know, because he talks like he does. He talks like he's in his own body and stuff, but then he talks about transcending the human senses, so I don't know.
very conscious awareness is directly connected. There's no separation between us and that God force. Of course, the God force is the pure love, with absolute unconditional love for all of creation.
If no one has created a channel called God Force, I'm going to go create that now, just because.
I wasn't alone. There was a beautiful young woman beside me on the butterfly wing, and she never spoke a word. She didn't have to. She was dressed in the very same simple garb and yet beautiful colors of all those thousands of beings.
So we wear clothes in heaven, and they're riding on a butterfly wing. I almost lost the narrative there because he got so much into talking about the feelings and everything going on around him. We're riding on a butterfly wing through some flowers right now. He's got a girl with him.
Beings dancing down below. And she looked at me with her sparkling blue eyes and high cheekbones, a broad smile, soft brown hair framing her beautiful face with a look of infinite love. And that, to me, was the essence of the journey. And I think the most important thing for me to bring back was how her...
Does she have her nose pierced?
Awareness came into my mind. And of course, it wasn't as words when it happened. But when I put it all to words weeks later and writing it all up, the message was very simple. And the thing is, I knew her so well from her mental, emotional connection with me in my mind. And yet I realized, and this was especially haunting in the months after my coma, when I started reading thousands of near-death experiences and saw that there was always a guardian angel who was somebody very crucial in your life.
Oh, definitely, Peter. Well, I mean, if the butterfly is big, if the people are small, well, there'd be physiological constraints both directions, right? But yeah, square cube law is going to put that butterfly down for the count.
And I remembered her so perfectly that I knew I'd never met her in my life. You know, that was the beautiful discovery 4 months after my coma. And of course, there's that beautiful picture. That's exactly...
So you didn't know who this was?
No. I had no idea. And it has to do with the fact that I had met my birth family about a year before my coma. But the reality is they were still suffering from the loss of that daughter. And so they didn't really want to talk about her too much. And, you know, what they did share was what a beautiful, angelic, loving...
So he dreamt about her. He was on the butterfly with his sister that he never met, is what he's saying here. And then she died before he met them, and they told him about her and showed him pictures of her, and this was her apparently. But that's the funny thing about memory. Like, the way you see someone in your memory it's not like a captured picture of them in your head. It's your brain rebuilds an image of them every time you think about them. Every time you think of that person and visualize them in your mind, your brain builds an image of them. It's not a captured, it's not like a stored image. The way your brain works doesn't allow for that. So every time you think of anything, it has to recreate it. It's kind of like those AI image generators that go through and kind of pick out the senses that you picked, what you visually, audibly, and tactily picked up about an individual, and builds an image of them in your mind. That's how that works. So when you have a mystery person in your dream, often your brain, when you wake up, will try to build an image of them. An external input, like somebody showing you a picture of your long lost sister, might trigger that to fill your brain to fill in those blanks with her image.
Soul that she was. And of course, I was quite sad as a brother who never got to meet her in this world. And that's why when my birth sister, Kathy, she finally sent me a picture, and I received that picture about 4 months after my coma. And it turns out it was very important that at the same time, because I think I needed some opening in my awareness and in my mindset, at the same time I was reading a beautiful story in Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's book, Life After Death. And in that she tells the story of a 13-year-old girl who had was in coma, very sick medically, and in this beautiful journey she was welcomed to the heavenly realm by her brother. And he was demonstrated to her that power of unconditional.
So you primed yourself with a book that told a story about a person seeing a sibling after you saw a mysterious person in your experience, and then you got a picture of your sister, and your brain said, "Oh, you're supposed to see your siblings because you've read it in this book." So your brain filled in those gaps. Yeah, I'm sure his wife would be thrilled about that. And he's married. He talks about his wife in this story.
Love and the beauty of that, of God in that realm, and then helped her make a decision to come back to this world. When she did, she was talking to her father about it. She said, "But I don't understand. I don't have a brother." And he said, "Well, you did, but he died 3 months before you were born, so we never told you about it." And that's when I looked up at the picture that I just received the afternoon before, and I collapsed on the ground, and my heart pounds, and I can't, even now, every time I revisit this story, chills running up and down my spine because of the beauty of that recognition of that guardian angel. And all of a sudden I realized
Are people guardian angels then? Or is the guardian angel just using the image of your sister and your or something that became the image of your sister in your mind to comfort you, and the guardian angel's really a external being, or are they people? Do we become guardian angels when we die?
We're deeply connected. And in fact, it's like she was looking at me in the picture that you showed a few minutes ago, as if to say, "Do you finally get it?"
Yeah.
Well, yes, Betsy, I finally get it. Well, the doctors had estimated early in the week that I had about a 10% chance.
10% chance.
Of living through it. After 7 days in coma, with just a horrible medical picture in terms of prognosis, they predicted that had gone down to a 2% chance of survival. But in that medical conference they held that Sunday morning, they recommended to the family stopping the antibiotics. And the reason for that is they thought there was no chance for my recovery. So when I did actually open my eyes on that Sunday morning, they were shocked. My brain was so completely savaged by this experience, I had no idea who these beings were standing by my bedside. My sisters, my sons, my former spouse, my mother. I didn't know who they were. All I remembered was where I'd been, this incredibly rich journey.
So this kind of implies that you aren't you when you die and go to heaven. Like, you forget everything about who you were and what you did, your life that you had. That's sad. It makes me sad. I don't want to go there. I love my kids and my parents and even my siblings. We have our differences, but I don't want to forget everything that I've lived here. I love you guys. I don't want to forget you guys. I don't want to not remember who you are. I don't want to be like, oh, who's Maya? Who's Ring? I don't know those people. I don't want that to happen to me. I love you guys.
And I also had, for about 36 hours after I came back to life and they pulled out the breathing tube, I was kind of in and out of a crazy, paranoid, delusional ICU psychosis, a nightmare, back and forth in that world. But the memories from deep coma, in many ways, were far more real, vibrant, and alive than any of the rest of it. And that paranoid, delusional nightmare, those memories faded within about a week. The memories from the deep coma experience are as fresh today as if they happened yesterday.
Goodness.
You know, when millions and millions of people start sharing these stories, there is no doubt of the eternity of soul and the reality of this God.
I don't even know where God came into this, though. Was God the butterfly? Yeah. Anyway, so that was T&H Inspiration. They talk about stuff like this a lot on this channel. Let's go look at their content real quick before we move on. No, we're not going to play an auto video, though. just to see what kind of things you can expect from this channel and see if maybe it's something we could revisit. The Secret Dark Power. The Secret of Dark Power. Interesting. Is that Chris Cornell? I love Chris Cornell. Philosophy of Musicians. I don't know if I'd listen to Chris Cornell's philosophy, though, because I'm not in a place where I am, nor would I listen to Robin Williams' philosophy right now. These things did not end well. We had Bob Dylan last week, actually, on this same segment, but we talked about the rock stars who sold their souls to the devil kind of stuff. So, yeah. All right. So that was CreationWatch. We looked at T and H, inspiration and motivations video on the afterlife. I didn't find it particularly compelling. If you did, that's fine. I would love to hear about what's compelling. If you've had a afterlife experience that you want to share that you think would be compelling to me, or even if you don't think it'd be compelling, you just want to share it down below. I might even read it if it's really interesting. Or if you've had any kind of supernatural experience for that matter. We love those here in the Hive. So send me your stuff. I have a couple of things that people have sent me. I'm not ignoring you. I'm very aware of your emails. So I need to compile enough of them to make it a show. So I can't just do 2 minutes on your one experience, but I can do, if I can get a half a dozen or so, I can do an hour on it, reading stories from submitted to me at the email down below. So you are free to do that, whether it's stories of religious experiences or supernatural experiences where you saw a cryptid and you want me to look at it or listen to the story and assess it. If you've got videos or photos or footage of any experiences, whether it's UFOs or ghosts or any of that stuff, please send it on over to the Hive. Again, right down below, xbugbot113x@gmail.com. And I will assess those. And I would love to do just a whole segment on stuff that people have submitted to me. So let's make that happen. We are about to wrap up here. I'm going to go into our last break, and then we're going to do some HiveScience, and we will call it a day. So I will see you in just a bit.
On this episode of God Made What? Now, normally I like to talk about cephalopods, but this time we're going to talk about a different type of mollusk. This is the Limix maximus, otherwise known as the giant leopard slug. And it deserves that name. I mean, look at the size of this thing. Now, despite its size, it still falls short when compared to the great black slug. And I wanted to bring up these creatures because they're not only hermaphrodites, but also because of their mating ritual. So what they do is climb themselves up into a high point, play a little bondage by hanging from a slime rope, and they not only intertwine themselves, but they also intertwine their little dinghies, located behind their head of all places. And look, when they climax, they form this flower thing to exchange sperm. And once they're really done, all the one does is just plop themselves to the ground while the other one climbs back up the rope. So for anybody that still thinks that in nature, sex happens between a male and a female organism, here's these guys.
All right, it is time for some science. Who is ready for some Hive science today? Got a couple of different topics that we're going to cover this afternoon. Well, it's almost this afternoon. 10 minutes it'll be this afternoon. So thank you for sticking with me. Appreciate it. As you saw, we had Junie up above there who telling us about, I love the way that they say the species name of that slug. I just love it, Junie. So yeah, if you're a fan of Junie, their thing was scrolling above their channel. So go ahead and just plug that in and look them up and have a look at some of their other content too. If you want to get in on this and have a little short clip of you, or a short, just like I said, even a still that I can make a 30-second GIF out of, something like that, send it on over to me, and we will get more ads. I'm talking to Purple and Maya and Peter. You guys got stuff you want me to put up on my channel to advertise your content? Absolutely, send it on over, and we'll make it happen. So today we're talking about more sensory stuff. Isn't that fun? We just talked about sensory stuff on CreationWatch when it came to how you sense things in heaven. But today we're talking about katydids had the earliest known insect ears 160 million years ago. Fossils of insects ears from the Jurassic period look identical to today's. So it's a Jurassic katydid. This fossil male katydid from China is one of 24 well-preserved specimens that reveal the earliest known insect ears, dating from around 160 million years ago. Over 100 million years ago, the chirp of insects known as katydids dominated the sound of Earth's nights. Now, fossils reveal what the katydid ear that heard those sounds looked like. 24 fossils of roughly 160 million year old katydids unearthed in China represent the earliest known insect ear. Gives us a link here, takes us right to the PNAS article on it, which is the primary research. Research reported December 12th. Again, I bring you cutting edge, December 12th. So this is just 5 days ago. Proceeding of the National Academy of Science. These ancient sensors of sound, identical to the ones found in today's katydids, may have picked up the first short-range, high-frequency calls of any insect, helping the insect hide from predators. The insects were the first land dwellers to send sound waves through the air, allowing the creatures to communicate over long distances than sight often allows. While some insects use their antennae to detect vibrations in the air, katydid have mammal-like ears that use an eardrum to hear. So this is like the earliest insect ear of this proportion, not counting the antenna, because we have antenna going back a lot further than 160 million years. But I won't go into that right now. Yet, because well-preserved insect eardrums are rare in the fossil record, it is unclear how katydids' ears evolved, says paleontologist Chuping Zhu of the Nanjing Institute of Geology and Paleontology in China and colleagues. Analysis of the Chinese fossils pushed the known record of male and female katydid ears' ability to listen to the potential mates or male competitors in the mid-Jurassic between 157 million and 166 million years ago. The previous record holder for the oldest insect ear, katydid, and crickets found in Colorado are around 50 million years old. So this is 3 times as old as the previous record holder. What's more, sound-producing structures on 87 fossilized male katydid wings from China, South Africa, and Kyrgyzstan. I think I said that right. Which date from about 157 million to 242 million years ago, may have generated a variety of chirps, including high-frequency calls up to 16 kilohertz. Humans, by comparison, can hear frequencies from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. High-frequency chirps don't travel far, which would have allowed katydids to communicate over short distances. Such a trait might have been useful because mammal hearing was improving around the same time, Zhu said. Limiting the range of some calls could have helped the katydid hide from predators, eavesdroppers on the hunt for other insects to feast, or for an insect feast. All right, so katydids, and not screaming like cicadas, right? They're chirping. So we're talking about the organ on the underside of them that picks up that chirping sound. It's interesting that that katydids would predate cicadas in the screaming into the night area. But yeah, look at that. Looks like a modern one, sort of. Look at that fossil. That's beautiful. There's a whole bunch of these. And now we're learning so much about them. 160 million years ago. If you're interested in reading this, it's open on PNAS, High Acoustic Diversity, Behavior Complexity of Katydids in the Mesozoic Soundscape. The Mesozoic Soundscape sounds like a freaking cool band name, though, especially if your songs are about dinosaurs. Mesozoic Soundscape. Yeah, but it basically says what Science News broke down for us there. All right, so we got one more topic to cover. This one's going to be also a bit short, but that's okay. I'm stoked to talk about this because it's neat. It's just neat. That's all, and I like dogs. Stone Age child may have been buried with a wolf. Considering Finland's highly acidic soil, archaeologists were surprised to find animal fur and feathers buried alongside a child from the Stone Age. This is just an artist's impression of what the child may have looked like. Researchers think a dog or a wolf was buried alongside the deceased. A Stone Age burial in Finland holds the remains of a child, as well as an assortment of grave goods, bird feathers, canine hairs, and plant fibers, giving archaeologists insight into burial practices of that time period. First discovered in 1991 in Majunso, an archaeological site near the town of Outokumpu in Finland, the grave contains the teeth of a child who, based on a dental analysis, died between the ages of 3 and 10. Archaeologists from the Finland Heritage Agency, a cultural and research institute in Helsinki, determined it was the grave site based on red ochre, which was very popularly used in burial rituals for a lot of Paleozoic, not Paleozoic. There were no Paleozoic cultures, for Paleolithic cultures. Where was I? Red ochre, an iron-rich soil commonly associated with burial sites in rock art that has stained a gravel roadway. The agency excavation team examined the site in 2018 and determined that it was at risk of destruction, according to the statement. Based on the trapezoidal shape of 2 arrowheads made of quartz, the archaeologists determined that the grave dates of the Mesolithic period or Middle Stone Age, roughly 8,000 years ago. So I said Paleolithic earlier. I guess it's Mesolithic. My bad. Roughly 8,000 years ago. After analyzing soil samples, the researchers discovered barbules from the feathers of a waterfowl that could have been used to create a bed of down feathers for the child. That was also found in a single falcon feather fragment. So the falcon feather may have been fletching that helped guide an arrow, or perhaps a decoration on a garment that the researchers said. So We have down feathers, and we have a falcon feather in the grave. All right. At the base of the burial lay 24 fragments of mammalian hair. While many of the hairs were badly degraded, the researchers determined that 3 came from a canine, possibly a wolf or a dog, that may have been laid at the feet of the child as part of the burial. It's also possible that the canid hair came from clothing such as footwear crafted from dog skin or wolf skin worn by the child, the team noted. Dogs entered with the deceased have been found in, for example, Skateholm, a famous burial site in southern Sweden dating from back some 7,000 years. Christina Mannerama, a researcher and associate professor in the Department of Cultures at the University of Helsinki, said in a statement, the discovery in Majunso is sensational. Even though there is nothing but hair left of the animal or animals, not even teeth, we don't even know whether it's a dog or a wolf. The ochre stain on the road was what initially tipped off archaeologists about the possible burial site. So this was like across the road, and they found the red ochre, which said, hey, ochre, which said, hey, there's maybe somebody buried here, and they dug into it, and behold, we find this. So this is a fantastic find. It was 1991, I guess. So that's interesting as well, that we're still finding new information about this as we move along. In addition, archaeologists unearthed plant fibers, possibly from willow or nettle, that might have been used in making clothing or fishing nets. Because soil in the area of Finland is highly acidic, the archaeologists were surprised at how well some of the organic remains have lasted over the centuries. The work is really slow, and it really made my heart jump when I found minuscule fragments of past garments and grave furnishings, especially in Finland, where all unburnt bones tend to decompose. I'm ready for bed. Study lead author Tuija Kirkinen. I'm having fun with these Swedish names. A postdoctoral researcher in the Department of Culture at the University of Helsinki told CNN, this all gives us a very valuable insight about burial habits in the Stone Age, indicating how people had prepared the child for the journey after death. Findings were published September 27th in the journal PLOS 1. This might be one fun for you to look into, Peter, if you're still out there listening. This could be of interest to you. It's new archaeological research. I know that's your bread and butter. I know you like more into the early hominids, but either way, welcome back, Secular Pagan Mom. I'm just actually wrapping up, but I'm glad that we were able to get through everything, because I left no stone unturned. So let's recap what we talked about today. So first we had our circling sheep, which went from hundreds of sheep to millions of animals, to to Nostradamus prophecy, to 5G conspiracy. Then we backed it back down by hacking through all the other animals except for this one case with the sheep. And boom, we find that it is controlled sheep behavior. It's very naturalistic to them. The only thing that's unnatural about it is how long they're doing it for, which is going to be probably some kind of social stimulation from being contained for too long. I don't want to say it's zoochosis, but it did look a lot like zoochotic behavior or zoochotic behavior, where the animals behave weirdly. Then we looked into an exploration of the afterlife, and talked about plants and butterflies in the afterlife, which has always intrigued me. And then finally, we had a two-parter for our HiveScience today. We had, of course, the one we just wrapped up there about the I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry. It was about the burial, and then before that we talked about the katydids. I don't think I have anything else. I'm looking because I feel like I'm forgetting something. I feel like I had, just one little, because I had a two-parter for HiveScience, and I had something else. It was like just an image or a blurb or something. No, I can't find it. I wanted to pull it up real quick. It was just something I was going to read. I'll do it next week. That's fine. We'll just do it next week because we're out of time now. It's afternoon. I'm getting hungry, and yeah, and I got things to get done. But Gaia is going live tomorrow. I know we went live before with Breeze B series over on Gaia, but and I know Gaia is also the name of the alien channel, but mine's completely different, and I didn't like the battle in the name, so I just dropped it back, and it's just Gaia abbreviated, which I've decided is Global Animal Information Alliance. So if there's animal information that you'd like me to share, let me know what species that you're interested in, and we will definitely try to dive into that over on that channel. So thank you so much for joining me in the Hive today. I appreciate each and every one of you who have subscribed to my channel. We are still approaching 1,000. I just got passed up by Paleologos on subscriber count. So don't let Peter beat me to 1,000. Come on, Swarm. Let's make this happen. Anyway, no, I'll be happy when Peter gets to 1,000 too. Watching that channel grow has been great. Anyway, please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.
I come with eldritch knowledge not meant for mortal minds that may drive you mad. For did you know, war pigs and Deck the Halls can be sung to each other's tunes? If you want to see part 1, links in the description below. But now, on to part 2. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Don we now our gay apparel. Sing the ancient Yuletide carol. See the blazing Yule before us. Strike the harp and join the chorus. Follow me in merry measure while I tell of Yuletide treasure. Oh Lord, yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Fast away the old year passes. Hail the new year, lads and lasses. Sing we joyous all together, heedless of the wind and weather. And once again, rock on.